This case isn't just about evidence, it's about credibility, perception, and the quiet power of deception. At the center is Kouri Richins, a wife accused of murdering her husband, Eric. But here's the twist. Today's focus isn't fentanyl, toxicology, or even the alleged act itself. It's something far more subtle and often more dangerous in a courtroom: lies. Because here's what seasoned trial lawyers know. Once a jury believes you've lied, even once, it's like pulling a thread that unravels everything. Every statement, every explanation, every tear suddenly becomes suspect. And prosecutors? They don't need 10 inconsistencies. Sometimes one well-placed lie can do more damage than a mountain of evidence can repair. In this breakdown, we're diving into 3 specific statements the prosecution says Kouri lied about, none of which directly prove murder, but each one raises a powerful question. Was she just being dishonest, or was she covering something far darker? As we go through each moment, ask yourself, if you were on that jury, would these lies change how you see her? Let's get into it.
In the Kouri Richins murder trial, prosecutors have introduced a lot of evidence, but 3 specific statements they say were lies may end up haunting Kouri Richins more than anything else. None of these alleged lies has anything to do with fentanyl, and none of them proves that Kouri poisoned her husband. But in a trial, lies can be incredibly powerful because once a jury decides someone has lied, they start to question everything the person said. So today we're going to look at each of these 3 statements and ask 2 questions. First, does this actually help prove murder or at least suggest that Kouri had a motive to murder her husband, Eric? And second, even if it doesn't directly prove murder, how much could it influence the jury? So in each of these cases, we have evidence that suggests Kouri lied to someone close to her, like her husband or a friend, or to a bank. And with each of these lies, it's not just what she said, it's also why she said it that matters so much. Now, in a trial, like I say, lies are incredibly important evidence. As a trial lawyer, you are always on the lookout for any time the other side lies because that makes for the best cross-examination. A mentor of mine used to say, better 1 bad lie than 10 good facts. So let's dive in. Lie number 1 has to do with the Valentine's Day text to her husband, Eric. It was Valentine's Day, and Kouri was spending it with her lover, Josh Grossman, not her husband, Eric. To make matters worse, her husband was not only alone on Valentine's Day, he was extremely sick. And in her text messages, Kouri lied to her husband about where she was. Now, let's lay out a little context around these extremely important messages. The prosecution alleges that Kouri tried to kill her husband more than once. According to the charges, Kouri tried unsuccessfully to poison him on Valentine's Day when she gave him a poisoned sandwich from a local diner. Now, it didn't work. And in fact, prosecutors say that is what prompted her to ask for a stronger drug when she got a refill from housekeeper Carmen Lauber. Now, according to prosecutors, it was that stronger stuff, what she called the Michael Jackson stuff, that actually killed Eric on March 4th. There is a lot of question around whether what Kouri bought was fentanyl. And since Eric died of a fentanyl overdose, that's a really important question. But that's not our topic for today. The text messages we are talking about today show that Kouri texted her lover, Josh Grossman, on Valentine's Day, telling him she loved him. She asked him to be, quote, one of her Valentines. And she drove an hour to see him and to spend the day with him. She sent a map so he could track her as she drove up to visit. In stark contrast to Josh Grossman, Kouri's husband, Eric, spent Valentine's alone and sick.
This case isn't just about evidence, it's about credibility, perception, and the quiet power of deception. At the center is Kouri Richins, a wife accused of murdering her husband, Eric. But here's the twist. Today's focus isn't fentanyl, toxicology, or even the alleged act itself. It's something far more subtle and often more dangerous in a courtroom: lies. Because here's what seasoned trial lawyers know. Once a jury believes you've lied, even once, it's like pulling a thread that unravels everything. Every statement, every explanation, every tear suddenly becomes suspect. And prosecutors, they don't need 10 inconsistencies. Sometimes one well-placed lie can do more damage than a mountain of evidence can repair. In this breakdown, we're diving into 3 specific statements. The prosecution says Kouri lied about, none of which directly prove murder. But each one raises a powerful question. Was she just being dishonest, or was she covering something far darker? As we go through each moment, ask yourself, if you were on that jury, would these lies change how you see her? Let's get into it.
Sick. Prosecutors say that sandwich from the local diner had been poisoned by Kouri after she purchased it. There have been no specifics offered as to how that was done. Here is the back and forth text message exchange between Kouri and Eric on Valentine's Day. Eric, K, which I assume means Kouri, I'm going to go lay down for a bit. If I don't start getting better, I'm going to head to the hospital. And Kouri says, geez, it's that bad? Need me to come home? Go to take a nap and call me when you're up. And Eric says, are you home? And Kouri says, no, in Provo, waiting for my cabinet installer guy. Are you home? And Eric says, in the office, I've been sleeping out here. Kouri, weirdo, go in our bed. Eric, okay, wish you were here. Kouri, I would cuddle you. Heading back in 20, he just got here. Now, what Kouri tells Eric, that she was waiting for a cabinet installer guy, that's false. She was an hour from home spending the day with her lover, Josh. Later, Eric told friends that he thought Kouri had poisoned him with the sandwich she brought him from a local diner. So far, the jury has had direct testimony about this from one person, Kouri's friend, Allie Staking. But Allie said that Eric and Kouri both seemed to think it was a joke that Eric thought this.
This is where things shift from facts to psychology. The prosecution isn't just building a timeline, they're building a character profile. And this lie feeds directly into that narrative. Think about it. Jurors now see someone living a double life, one version for her husband, another for her lover. That duality can be incredibly persuasive in court because it suggests control, planning, and the ability to compartmentalize. But here's the defense angle. Cheating doesn't equal killing. Millions of people lie about affairs every day and never commit a crime. So the real battle here is interpretation. Is this evidence of moral weakness or something more sinister? And this is where juries often struggle. Because once doubt about honesty creeps in, it doesn't stay contained. It spreads. So ask yourself, if you were sitting in that jury box, would this lie make you question everything else she says? 649. Kouri is having an affair and easily lying to her husband Eric about it.
And Allie was visiting the Richins about a week after the Valentine's Day incident. Here's what she said about it.
You were talking about when Eric got sick from a sandwich, right? You talked about that with Mr. Bloodworth.
I did.
And he told you, what did he tell you?
That he believed that Kouri had tried to poison him.
Okay. Did he tell you, I believe Kouri tried to poison me, or did he say to you, did Kouri tell you she tried to poison me?
No, he said, he said Kouri tried to poison him.
All right, and who was there? Kouri was there?
Yes.
And what was her response to that?
She was laughing and she said that's not what happened.
And what did happen?
I don't know what happened.
Well,
He took a bite of the sandwich and got an allergic reaction and had to shoot himself with an EpiPen.
okay, so they talked about that there was an allergic reaction.
Yes.
Was everyone laughing?
Yes, we were all laughing and we jokingly said, don't eat what Kouri feeds you.
Okay. And did Eric appear upset about what had happened prior with the sandwich?
No,
Did he seem scared about what had taken place?
no.
How are he and Kouri getting along when you were there that last visit?
They seemed better than I'd seen them in a long time.
So let's ask our 2 questions. First, does this help the prosecution prove that Kouri murdered, or maybe more precisely, attempted to murder Eric? I think the answer is that it doesn't help a lot. Maybe some, but not a lot. Kouri did something that millions of people do every day. She picked up a meal at a local restaurant. It wasn't even something that she made herself, and she took it home to her husband. So the fact that Eric thought he might have been poisoned, that's not proof that Kouri did it, especially if this was just a joke and they were laughing about it. But prosecutors do have strong evidence that Kouri was lying to her husband in the text messages, that she was telling him she was working when she was really spending the day with her lover. So here the second question becomes far more important. Will this evidence have an impact on the jury? Kouri is having an affair and easily lying to her husband, Eric, about it. Oh, I'm waiting for the cabinet guy. I'd be glad to come home. I'd cuddle you if I could. There's something about the fact that it was done on Valentine's Day that just makes the betrayal seem even worse. Kouri clearly can lie believably and to people she cares about. Eric knew her well, but he seemed to have no clue about her affair. And if prosecutors are correct, no clue about how deep her financial troubles were. Of course, the defense would probably point out that lying about having an affair is a long stretch from poisoning your husband. But even if the jury can keep all of that straight, they still will be left with a lot of questions about whether Kouri can be trusted. And that creates a problem for her defense. So, lie number 2 is Kouri's claim that she had broken up with her lover, Josh Grossman, 9 months before Eric's death. Allie Staking had been close friends with Kouri since childhood. She lived in California, but about 2 weeks before Eric died, she visited Kouri in Utah. As I said, Allie and Kouri were very close, so close that Kouri had confided in Allie about her affair with Josh Grossman. But when Allie came for a visit 2 weeks before Eric's death, Kouri told her something different.
Do you know who Josh Grossman is?
Yes, I know of him, yes.
How do you know of him?
Corey told me about him.
What did Kouri say about him?
She said that they were having an affair.
And when did she tell you this?
It was about June 20.
Did she tell you the status of that affair when she spoke to you in June 2020?
Could you clarify?
Was it ongoing at the time?
Yes, it was ongoing.
Did she ever tell you that?
Now, this second lie is a different animal entirely. It's not about hiding an affair. It's about rewriting reality to someone who already knows the truth. And that's what makes it so intriguing. Kouri had already confided in Allie about the relationship, so why suddenly claim it ended 9 months earlier, especially just weeks before Eric's death? That's not damage control, that's timeline manipulation. From a legal standpoint, this could hint at consciousness of guilt, a subtle but powerful concept. It suggests someone may be shaping a narrative in advance, anticipating future scrutiny. But again, we have to be careful. People lie for messy emotional reasons too. Shame, fear, confusion. Not every lie is a master plan. Still, the timing is hard to ignore. So what do you think? Was she trying to clean up her image or laying groundwork for something bigger? 12:21. Kouri suddenly have a need to tell her close childhood friend something that clearly was not true.
The affair was broken off.
She did.
When did she tell you the affair was broken off?
My last visit prior to Eric passing, she told me that she'd ended things with Josh and chose her family. It had been over for about 9 months at that point.
And was that last visit you had with Eric Richins on the weekend of February the 20th, 2022?
Yes, I believe so.
And she said then that she had broken it off 9 months earlier.
Yes.
But the evidence at trial has been absolutely overwhelming. At the time that Kouri told Allie she had broken up with Josh, that was completely untrue. Eric died sometime late on the night of March 3rd or early on the morning of March 4th of 2022. The prosecution put in evidence that Kouri and Josh had been romantically involved for a year and a half by then, and very much including the months right before Eric's death. In December of 2021, 3 months before Eric died, Kouri told her lover, Josh, that they were in a love triangle. She explained what she meant. Well, I'm married, and you, me, our relationship, I don't know what else to call it. I'm in love with a man that's not my husband. That same day, Kouri wrote, I'll always love you, handsome. If it's okay, can we talk tomorrow? I want to go to sleep as happy as I was when I woke up with you this morning. Kouri told Josh she didn't want to break up her family, but I do just want to love you. I do love you. I love our love too. It's my favorite. The relationship continued hot and heavy up until Eric's death. As I mentioned earlier, Kouri spent Valentine's Day with Josh, not Eric, and 5 days later, on February 19th, Kouri texted Josh, just wanted to say, I love you. That was just 2 weeks before Eric died. 4 days later, on the 23rd, Kouri texted Josh to say she had had a crazy dream. You quit your job, I divorce and come up with millions and millions. We buy Midway, a house she wanted to flip, and live in the guest house and rent out the huge house as a big event center and hang out every day, raise some kids, have a little farm. In a later email, she added, I've been thinking that dream for weeks. Not possible, but it's fun to dream. Maybe another property when timing is better. Sounds kind of amazing, though, right? On the night Eric died, Kouri texted Josh that she hadn't had a second to text, but give me a few, love you. The text clearly showed the relationship was on right before and at the time Eric died. And to cement the point, Kouri's lover, Josh Grossman, took the stand and told the jury that the affair lasted another 9 months after Eric died. So why then would Kouri have told Allie that she had broken up with Josh 9 months earlier? If Kouri had never told Allie about the affair in the first place, that would be one thing. Kouri might have been embarrassed, or maybe she was worried it would get back to Eric. But in this case, Kouri had told Allie about the affair. She apparently was not worried that Allie would spill her secret. So why, 2 weeks before Eric's death, did Kouri suddenly have a need to tell her close childhood friend something that clearly was not true? Well, we'll ask our first question. Does lying to Allie make it more likely that Kouri killed Eric? And I would say maybe not directly, but it is related to what the prosecution says is Kouri's motive. They've talked about financial motive, but obviously her relationship with Josh could also be part of the motive. Maybe she wanted to be with Josh. But lying to Allie, if that's the case, would be a pretty short-term solution because obviously it's going to come out later. Now, maybe she was thinking she could tell Allie that they had rekindled their relationship, even though it had been off. Or maybe she wanted to hide her relationship with Josh so no one would suspect her of murdering Eric. So the second question then, how much is this lie going to impact the jury? The prosecution has charged Kouri with aggravated murder. That means it's not enough for them to show that Kouri killed Eric Richins. For the jury to find Kouri guilty, they have to believe it was intentional. And if Kouri saw a need to lie, to hide the fact that she was having an affair, that opens up the question, is that because she was already plotting the murder and thinking about how she would avoid getting caught? It doesn't answer the question, but it just gives the jury something more to think about. All right, let's talk about lie number 3. And this is the one Kouri told when she took out a HELOC on her own family's home. Now, Eric owned the house that Kouri and he and the kids lived in. Kouri was not a part owner of the home. Eric was the only owner. According to prosecutors, Kouri told the bank that she had authority to sign on behalf of Eric as power of attorney. She took out a loan for $250,000 against the house and put that money into her house flipping business. After Eric died, she just...
So where does all of this leave us? 3 lies. None of them directly prove murder, but together they paint a picture the prosecution is hoping the jury can't ignore. Lie 1 shows deception in a moment of vulnerability. Lie 2 raises questions about timing and intent. And lie 3, the financial one, goes straight to motive. Because in criminal law, motive isn't required, but it's incredibly persuasive. If the jury believes Kouri was under financial pressure, willing to go behind her husband's back and capable of sustained deception, That combination can be powerful, even without a smoking gun. But here's the flip side. The defense only needs to create reasonable doubt, and they'll argue that lies, while damaging, are not proof of murder. Now it's your turn. Which of these lies do you think carries the most weight? And more importantly, would it be enough for you to convict? If you found this case as fascinating as we did, make sure to hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping courtroom breakdowns.
Justified what she had done to one of Eric's friends, a man named Bryce. And here's the conversation.
Yeah, I took $250,000 off of our house.
Yeah.
Do you know how much in real estate we own today because I did that? $11 million worth of real estate. Do you know why I did that, Bryce? Because Eric would never let me work. Eric never trusted me in
100%.
believing me. No, but I want you to know that. Would you do it? Would you take $250,000 to make $11 million?
Well, that's tricky, right? Like, communication was the big thing for Eric, right?
He told me no, Bryce. I believed in myself. He told me no, but I knew I could do it because I know what I can do. Bryce, I wouldn't do something that I didn't know that I knew I could do. I'm not stupid.
Right.
Bryce, I own 12 properties that are almost all paid off. Including my own house that I've almost paid off. Like, I own multiple houses in Park City, in Mill Creek, in Saratoga Springs, in Heber, in Midway, all because I did that. And they all go to my kids. $11 million of real estate property because I took $250,000, Bryce. He just never gave me a chance. He never gave me a chance because he didn't believe in me. And he can say whatever he wanted. He can say I stole from him. He can say whatever. But at the end of the day, that $250,000, Bryce, was paid off in 7 months and turned into $11 million.
From the testimony of the forensic accountant, we know these numbers aren't really accurate. Kouri did not actually own outright $11 million worth of properties. But the far more important allegation is that Kouri signed on Eric's behalf. He told her no, and she did it anyway. She didn't tell him that, and she kept the money for her own purposes. We've heard testimony, and we heard Bryce say that Eric considered that a real problem, a major betrayal. In her own mind, Kouri had justified it. And as she told Bryce, she thought she had to do that because Eric would not trust her. Like the other two lies, this one has nothing to do with fentanyl. The fact that Kouri took out a secret loan is in no way proof that she poisoned her husband. But this lie, the one to get this HELOC loan, may be the most dangerous one of all for Kouri because it plays directly into the state's theory about motive. The state says Kouri wanted, that she needed Eric's money for her business. Now, if you listen to Kouri's words to Bryce, she seemed to be past the need for money when she was talking to him. She was talking about success, about owning properties and building something valuable for her children. But when the forensic accountant took the stand, we heard a very different story. According to the numbers the forensic accountant reviewed, Kouri was actually in deep financial distress. And when Kouri spoke to Bryce, she admitted what she had done, that she signed on Eric's behalf to take the HELOC, and she used that money to fund her real estate deals. At least at the time she did it, she clearly believed she needed that money to make her business work. And that's where the prosecution's theory comes in. They say this wasn't just risky business dealings. It shows how much pressure Kouri was under and why Eric's money mattered so much to her. Lies are incredibly powerful in a trial. So what do you think? 3 different statements the prosecution says are lies. Which one of these is most likely to matter to the jury? Is it lying to Eric on Valentine's Day? Is it lying to her friends about the affair? Or is it lying to the bank and signing on behalf of Eric to get the HELOC? Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.